This is verse 26 of the 19th chapter, Gospel of Matthew. The disciples are somewhat astonished because Jesus has just commented on how difficult it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom. And of course, they operate under the widespread assumption of the day that if you're wealthy, it was a empirical display of God's favor. And it was more or less taken for granted that a person that had great wealth was certainly in good standing with God. And so the question that pops into their minds is, if it's that difficult for the rich, then what about the rest of us? That would probably be the sense of it. Interesting comment, continuing the thought here. So we have emblepsos. This is from emblepo. Blepo means to see, of course. Emblepo, it's derived from en, the preposition, so it would be the notion of looking into, and out of that is the idea of looking intently. It's an aorist participle, and so having looked intently would be the idea. It's in the nominative, masculine singular, refers to the subject, which is Jesus, so Jesus having looked intently, but soft conjunction. Jesus having looked impliedly at them. You get the feeling that there was some fairly dramatic sense to this, that it wouldn't be mentioned quite this way if there weren't some very memorable aspect to this moment in which Jesus just looked at them and then finally said, apen, from lego I say, third person singular, aorist, active indicative, said to them, indirect object, dative, plural, masculine, para, can take genitive, dative, or accusative. With the dative here, it's going to have something of the notion of with respect to, or in connection with, anthropos, with respect to men, as to men would be the idea. Tuto, this referring to what Jesus has previously said about the difficulty of a rich man entering. So with respect to man, this that I've just said, adunaton. This is from adunatos. Of course, the root is dunamai, I am able. It's negated here. It's turned into an adjective, so it is not able, would be the notion. So this is not feasible. This is not possible. This is neuter singular nominative. Goes along with the predicate nominative of estin. So with respect to men, this is not possible, is the general idea. You look at this from a human perspective, and indeed the impossibility described by Jesus is in fact an accurate deduction. But he adds then para, same preposition, da theou, but with respect to or concerning God. Panta, this is an adjective, it's in the plural, all things, neuter. And then dunata, the same word, now in the neuter plural. All things are possible. So even though there's a great impossibility, you might say, from a human perspective, with God these things are possible. It goes to the idea that any form of true conversion is ultimately going to require the intervention of God's power. Unless a person's born again, they can't see. This is a supernatural intrusion into the human personality that brings this about. And whether a person is rich or poor, I suppose Jesus would probably say the same thing, but it's especially highlighted with respect to those who have a tendency to put great trust and reliance on their material wealth.